So hi everybody and welcome back to the part 2 of my video instruction sheets about my model. As you know, on my channel you basically see models that or it's commissions or it's stuff that I make for companies or it is my stuff in promotional, plus sometimes I place the review of diecast and model kit that cross my hands. So this is the second part of this instructions, about this. This was the last model that I made in 2024, Porsche Carrera RSR R7, the 1973 RSR used at Nürburgring and at Le Mans. I choose to make the car in the number 6 configuration, the car driven by Van Lennep and Herbie Muller, and it was the car number 6 used at the Nürburgring, And as you can see here, we are in the second step of the building up of that model. So the first part you can find on the channel, and it was referred about the cleaning of the body and the preparation of the body to arrive to the decal sheet. The decals I used in these models were not exactly my decal. The only part that is coming from my decal sheet is this last Martini band on the lower part of the rear end of the car, and the upper part was a leftover from a sheet I took from a sheet, not a sheet that I took from Profile 24, which I used like a base, to make my own livery, because the body from Profile is totally different from my body. I mean, it's anyway the same subject, but they made a little different, probably proportion model. I think it's something that they made it in the past. I have no idea when that kit have been made, and they just provided the decal for the number 46 and 47 car racing at Le Mans, so the one with the round numbers and the 46, or the yellow spots instead of the red one that was the other vehicle. Instead I decided to modify the decal, and I used their decal sheet to use the curvature on the body of the car, because the length and the final end curvature was basically similar. It's slightly different because, as you can see, when you apply this type of decals, you can use, if you want, also their decal. The difference is probably in the price range, because I think it's basically exactly like my decal, but at least my sheet was absolutely older, so it cracked immediately in the contact of the wood. As you can see, there is still pieces of the decal. You see, that one is a piece coming from that part. The model I've painted with Gunze acrylic colors. This because I think that their silver aluminum is the one that have the little metal brush inside the pigment of the silver that is extremely fine, much finer than the others, much finer than Tamiya in my opinion, as well as the final gloss coat is made with that synthetic Mr. Color GX100, placed in layers over the body of the car. Of course, you do this process after you apply the decal, that, as I said, in my particular case it was problematic, because despite my decal being that one was basically okay, you can find little different corners, different points from the body, because we basically designed it over the nothing, when I made my body from the beginning. And instead the Profile 24 is made probably on the body of the Profile. That's why you can see there the final decal applied on the ducktail of the car. This was basically an evolution of the ducktail RSR R5 racing before this one, and so they improved the wing on the side to increase the downforce of the rear part of the Porsche. These were famous because having the engine completely offside to the rear axle was completely unbalanced, so it was extremely difficult to race like a car, despite she had an incredible historical racing, this vehicle. And it was quite tricky, to use this type of decal. I made probably a mistake, because combining the two type of decal, I was considering that when you go and build up this model by yourself, remember that of course my decal is anyway an artisanal procedure to build up decal, so it is not a real company making decals, it is something homemade by us. So of course you cannot have colors like the pure white being completely covering the under colors. If you go near, you can absolutely see that there is, despite I made it 2 layers of decal, I have no problem in admit my problems in the build up of my model. But this because I hope that this video can help you in building this one in the same way or absolutely better than me, you know. So avoid and just keep an eye to the little tips that I'm giving you here, you know. The main issues I had with this older decal, because the film, differently from my film, this older decal from Profil had the particularity that they cannot take any shape, so it was extremely easy to crack them and to make a damage. So that's why it was a little tricky and problematic to apply over that side. You see, there is some imprecision in the final leg of the decal, you know. My only regret was that look in the picture I placed a white spot over there a little bit bigger than what it should be, and that's why it happened, because I used it to copy the refurbished car. There is a couple of refurbished cars that have been on auction right now for some days, I think in Bonhams, and they were refurbished car using the number of the same chassis of the original but slightly different in details, as well as, for example, in the cast of my model you will find down there the photo etch said that I basically placed was that squared one with the pins over, but they are referred to the card number 46 because this is the base of the extra light for the Le Mans version. So in the night of Le Mans they used to have extra lights in the front end of the car, which I didn't have to use here because this was the car used in 1,000 kilometers of the Nürburgring of 1973. You know that I'm so in love with that track. So every time I would like to build up cars that have raced at the Nürburgring, as well as in the front end you will not find the typical S logo of the category, group S for Le Mans category, you know. There is slightly minor differences. What I could not understand is why in some pictures I found the car number 6 racing with the 6 number straight on the front edge of the car. Instead I found also several pictures of the carousel, so it's absolutely the Nürburgring of the same year with the 6 placed in that position. So I made it this way, and I think is not a big issue. When you combine, you know that I made this model using a donor from the Revel 934 because I found it cheaper in Amazon. But remember, when you are dealing with Revel, there is always some bigger issues, you know, and this car was particular because it was completely extremely low rider when you see in the pictures, and you have absolutely to adjust the height of the car before you go further, you know. I try to keep it to the 0. Let's show you better what I mean. Then we return talk about the body and the small details, but you know, all the parts here in the suspension have been reworked to host the wheels. This is the set wheels that I provide in my kit. They are racing, you know. I just painted them with gunmetal rim, the red valve for the tire, and the ordinary wheel made in resin. Being in resin, you can also sand as much as you want to make it used, well used. Destroyed, they were slicks, so it's no problem to work with them. It's not a rubber, you know. The low riding of the axles, you know, have been made this way. I had to rework a little there to host better the wheel, but you have to do a couple of dry fit, as well as I probably will even more cut. You see that there is a point here where the suspension don't fit the front bar of the suspension. I make it lower, you know, but it should be even lower. If you look at all the picture of the model from Revel, this is a mistake that they did in the model that probably Tamiya don't have. I don't remember the Tamiya height, but it was absolutely perfect. Tamiya is really straight from the box, so I love when modelers show up that they are very skilled in building up Tamiya. Grazie al cazzo. Everybody is skilled in making a Tamiya. Try with a Revel or with something in resin, and we will see if your skill is still there, you know. And so that's it. I had to lower it a little bit better. Just a little tip. As I said here, I wanted to use also the upper part of the engine, but if you just want to make a better detail for the Tamiya 934, you can use all the upper part from this engine and apply over the Tamiya part, you know. The Tamiya just give you the lower part of the body with the exhaust ending in the turbo fan coming from the 934. So you can absolutely work on it. And as I said, you have to still work on the height and the ride of the vehicle. You know, this is already low, but it should be even lower than what it is right now. It's nice to look in the Revel that you can have already quite well done. You know, these were cars. These were cars that had a lot of chrome all over the body. See, for example, I placed it over there. The front light coming from the Revel kit are extremely well done. So also the front glass of the wind of the main lights are extremely well done, and this is because Revel provide a very interesting extra detail. That's why I suggest to use this model, you know, because everything I paid nearly 20 bucks for it. So 20 bucks for a donor kit plus the model that is slightly over 100 euros. So for a cheap price you can absolutely do this model. Is not something that became expensive in the range of model factory hero, being a curbside or Studio 27, you know. But they also provide you, if you want to go for it, very nicely done and already chromed, plus the glass for the front end in the transparent sprue for the extra front line. So if you want to go for an eventual Le Mans car, or like the R7 that I did, R6 sorry, that I did from Viceroy, the extra light in the front, and those are perfect because they are exactly the extra light coming from the 911 series, you know, as well as a couple of really well done Vitaloni mirror. You know, I choose that one because this model had just one side mirror and not one. So there is a lot of little tiny details that you have to study from the real vehicle. Just be extremely careful when you go for it to try to search for original pictures, because it's extremely easy to cross and to end in the details made for the replica car that is around now. So many details, also some pins and locks that they had on the main windshield and for the rear windshield is different from the original car. They made a replica of the 46. Instead I made the number 6, and in the number 6 and the Nürburgring, in the picture that they had, they never had that fixing on the front main windshield and to the rear windshield, you know. About the transparent parts, this was also quite easy to fit because I basically used the Revel part. Revel have the only difference, not a lack, you know, that they already provided the frame of the main front window already molded on the transparent part, so you have to carefully sand it off and to place it from inside, you know. To seal it, I usually take some pins of super glue. I have somewhere here the leftover of the super glue, and you can make the sealing using I use that glue that is basically a white glue for wood that allow you. I want to show you from the inside how does it look. You know, all the inner part will not be visible when it is complete, but all that little glossy looking like glue is a kind of silicone part that seal completely the windshield and give absolutely a solid structure to all the roof of this beautiful 911. In this model, probably the trickiest part it was that Revel made a very strange grill for the rear edge of the motor, so I scratch build this edge with sheet styrene, not so difficult work, you know, 6 bars of styrene, and you can do absolutely easy. Plus I didn't use the rear frame and the rear windshield coming from the kit, because in my donor model this was completely cracked, so this have been made in acetate transparent. It's not so difficult fit, you know. I fitted up also the rear lights, you see, and also here consider that you have to study constantly the real vehicle, because the replica have the white spotlight for the reverse while the original didn't had. I have very nice picture of the car racing at the ring without Porsche logo on the ducktail, on the back side of the ducktail, and it was this way. So that's it. I think it's extremely convincing, you know. Also the color is quite glossy. You know, I made it glossy even if you look the original picture of the time, the model was everything but absolutely not glossy and absolutely not well taken. You know, the car looked like more a rally car, but I didn't want to go for that detail. It's still missing the front two end clip down there that I prepared and they are there, as you can see, is that photo etched in black. But I will not place it now because still have to fix a lot of details, so that is extremely easy to break and make them fly away and lose them, and you have to rebuild. The part that I had here, it was coming from this set. As you can see, they are there. And they are coming from a scrap photo etch set, so you have to search for the bonnet locker online, so you have to search like a photo etch set for it. I don't have it in my range to make it for sale, you know. Last note, quite important by the way, when you do the model, I decided to send away the 2 cup fillers that I placed on the resin body as well as from the base of the front light, just because I think that to apply that decal is better not to have any surface under that give you problems, you know. As well as I decided to cut in the position of the air intake in front of the dashboard, so I wanted to cut it and divide the decal into pieces, you know. Of course, also if you look closely to the colors and the shape and the details on the front arrow, the profile decal is totally off also for the Le Mans car, so a little bit sad, but you know, I had to work with it, so I wanted to use this one just because I didn't have here available for myself one of my decal sheets, you know. They are custom made just under request when I sell the model, so they are nearly sold out now, and I'm really glad for it because it means that people understand and like what I'm doing and the process of all the creation of this model. The front light, I decided not to cut it away. I think they are quite convincing in this position, you know. So you have the arrow, that extra position light probably, and a little air intake for, I think, the brakes, you know. In the RSR version there was an extra under there that was going to the brakes, you know. That's it. I think the final step now for the body is just to make it completely dry and keep on working for the interior set. So I will not touch any longer the body right now and let it be like it is. I think extremely convincing for the purpose that I had to create an R7 from my own for the Nürburgring, you know. And I want to keep on finishing the cockpit, you know. These cars was probably the regulation that forces them, like the Group C cars, to have double seat. That's why I place a secondary seat there already fixed in position without any seat belts, while the main one will be there with his own seat belts and bucklets, of course, ordinary stuff that have to be connected to the rear part of the chassis, plus the support for the head of the pilot, you know. This is ordinary stuff with photo edges set and so on. Should be a 6-point, you know. I think I made it in 4 and I will add it 2 extra more later, you know. Also here be careful because it happens that you can see in the replica car that they made the interior in black while the original one was white. So I took an off-white with a black base to keep all the shadows coming from the interior, and a little bit scratch, you know, in the position where the pilots have to exchange themselves in the crossing by. So that is a little weathering detail that I place will be probably nearly invisible when the model will be complete. And soon will be complete, so I think that now still is something like a couple of working days to finish this model, and then we are probably done. So I think, I don't know if there will be a third part of the instruction or just a final music video, but here it is, and I hope that everybody taking this model will enjoy as much as I did. You know, the car is fantastic and is a unique Porsche that not so many have in the collection for proper Le Mans or racer of the 70s, so in my opinion is absolutely a must to have in a proper Porsche collection. So that's it, guys. This was the second part. See you in the next video, and thanks for watching.